In section 6.5, we're going to graph quadratic equations by hand. The graph of a quadratic equation is called a parabola. The definition of quadratic equation is that you have an equation where the highest exponent is a 2. Look over here, we're going to call this our base equation, where we have f of x equals x squared. And that's going to produce this parabola where we are here, starting here at the origin 0, 0, and both sides are symmetrical. Over here we have what's called a base equation, f of x equals negative 2. The negative symbol is what's different. And notice we start here at the origin and we draw both sides being symmetrical, but now they are along the negative area in the y-axis. When you're given a problem and asked to graph the equation, what you're going to do is take one of these base equations, and then you're going to draw it here on the axis, and you're going to shift this point over to where the equation they're giving you states. Now, there's no calculation in this. All you have to do is look at the equation numbers, and you'll be able to know that you're going to shift this down and over to the left. And here, you're going to shift this up along the y-axis and over to the right. Now remember, no calculation. You're just going to be able to look at the equation and know how to do it. That's how simple this is going to be. So here, let's go and get started. Before you start shifting your base parabola, you have to know which one you're going to use. Are you going to use the one that opens up here, or are you going to use the one that opens down? The opening is down here. The answer is quite simple. What you're going to do is you're going to look at the equation that they give you, and you're going to look at the sign that's in front of the x squared value. Now, I don't care about the number, I only care about the sign. Now, if that sign is positive, it's going to open up. And if that sign is negative, what you're going to do is sketch the one that opens down. Let's take a look at the example. You have a negative 3x squared. Again, I don't care about the number. The negative symbol is what I care about. Negative means I'm going to open down, and it's going to look like this. And the next example, 3x squared, the sign in front of the x squared is positive, so I'm going to open up, and it's going to look like this. Now, let's take a look at y equals x squared and y equals negative x squared, and let's see how we're going to open on each one. The y equals x squared, that means I'm going to open up. So that's how I'm going to go and draw my base equation. I'm going to start here at the origin, and I'm going to make a dotted lines just to show what my base equation will look like. Now if we go over to the y equals negative x squared, we know it's a negative sign there, so that's going to open down. And I'm going to come over to the origin, and again I'll use my dashed lines and attempt to draw a parabola. Now you don't have to be an artist. Remember, we're just sketching. I'm certainly not going to be artistic here. All right, so now we have our base. Now there are two more things you have to know before we can start sketching. This is pretty easy. You may know already about the vertex. The vertex is the minimum, the lowest, or the maximum, the highest point on your parabola. Remember, it's a point. So we come over here and we look at the y equals x squared, and we're going to look for the lowest point on that parabola, and that is the vertex, and that is at 0, 0, where we started at the origin. And since it's the lowest point, it's the minimum. Now look at the y equals negative x squared. The highest point is the max point, and we call that the vertex also. Now notice here, it is the absolute highest y value, and over here it's the absolute minimum low value. Now notice here when I said the vertex was a point xy, I want you to just be familiar that another way we're going to call this point is hk. Now you just have to remember hk. You can remember that h alphabetically comes before k, but you're going to see soon why we do call this hk. So just be familiar with this. All right, the last piece of information we need to discuss is axis of symmetry. What the axis of symmetry is, it's actually a vertical line that goes right through the vertex. And the x value will always be what the axis of symmetry is, x equals. Now let's take a look at our y equals x squared parabola. The axis of symmetry is the line that's going right down the center of your vertex. Here is your vertex, 0, 0. This is the axis of symmetry, straight down, vertical line. It actually cuts your parabola in half, where this side is symmetrical to this side. And it's always the value of x, because notice, x here, I am at 0. So the vertex is x equals 0. All along this, x is equal to 0. We're coming down here, our axis of symmetry happens to be the same because the vertex is at 0. Quick summary, we talked about how we're going to draw and sketch our base parabola, open on top or open on the downside. We know what the vertex is, and now we know axis of symmetry. So let's get started on drawing the parabola for the equation they're going to give us using the shift.
This is the end of the video.